Or should I not? Do you think that...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing tonight?
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Oop, I turned the mmicrophone on, but not the cameras. Hello. Nice to see y'all.
Yeah, I think they'd rather hear us than see us anyways. Well, me anyways.
Probably me too, yeah. So we're trying a slightly new camera setup. We will kind of see what you think about that when we get into the Ravensdale Writes comics. But, Panic Roll, Ola, how are you? Good to see you tonight. As always, gotta ask, what's the dinner report for this evening?
I haven't eaten yet. Better not be too good. I'm gonna get hungry. It's gonna be good. It's always been good.
Yeah.
Even a hamburger helper, my stomach was like...
Ooh, hamburger helper sounds good, yeah.
I haven't had that forever.
Sarah and I went out and grabbed sandwiches from Submarina.
Oh, nice.
Which I think is my favorite sub place here in California.
Really?
I think I like them better than pretty much everywhere. Jersey Mike's does a good sub too, but Submarina is probably my favorite.
I don't know if I've ever been to a Submarina, to be honest with you.
They're tasty. They've got this brown bread. I think it's called squaw bread.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it.
Oh, that stuff's like super soft, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Panic Girl says homemade breaded chicken cordon bleu.
Dude.
All right then. Yeah. Going fancy.
I'm coming over.
Just be careful. You might be getting too fancy to hang out with us.
Yeah. Cordon bleu.
Mm-hmm. Chicken cordon bleu. That's chicken stuffed with ham, stuffed with cheese, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
Yup. Then breaded and...
Yeah, I'm fancy like that? Yeah, I know you are.
Gotta eat it with the pinky up.
Yep. Pinkies up. Alright, well. Endgame has been out for almost a week and a half now.
And it's made like all of the money in the world.
Yeah, it was $1 billion opening weekend worldwide.
It's crazy.
And then this last weekend, I heard they made $145 million.
No, I think they hit the 2 billion mark.
Oh, did they really?
I believe they
over the
did.
course of the 2 weeks? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
That's insane.
And well deserved, to be completely honest. It's fantastic.
It is good, but that's still... I can't even wrap my head around that much money. It's nuts.
Panic Roll says Avengers Endgame was super easy to make, and he can give us the recipe if we want.
Ah. Nice.
I'm kidding. Obviously, I know you were referring to the chicken cordon bleu, and I will take you up on that offer, because I would love to try it. I can't imagine Sarah would enjoy it, but she might. We'll find out. Last I saw, it was $2.1 billion. Okay, so
That's so much money.
that's ridiculous amounts of money. I think it's on track to beat Avatar as the highest-grossing film of all time. Which, I'll be honest, I don't know why Avatar held that record. It's a crap movie.
Yeah, I remember when that first came out, everybody was so hyped about it, and I watched it, and I was like,
Yeah, what's the big deal?
it's not horrible.
No,
horrible,
but it's okay.
Yeah. Like
It's not...
It's not even top 25.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame, however, easily top 25, probably top 5, maybe top 3, potentially even number 1.
I mean,
all-time movies.
for me, I think. I mean, not just money-wise, but for me, I think if you combine Infinity War and Endgame, like that's perfection. This is the only thing I've ever seen that could potentially dethrone the Matrix trilogy for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that your favorite?
Yeah.
What is my favorite movie prior to this? I don't really have a favorite movie series because most of them were pretty, most movie franchises, they've got fairly weak entries and fairly strong entries.
Right.
And so overall, they're kind of like, I like them, but usually they're not my favorites. But The Princess Bride is easily my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah. It's a good choice.
I don't know if
It's
this
a solid
beats
choice.
that. It's close. Avengers Endgame is close.
I mean, Princess Bride's definitely more quotable. Well, maybe not.
I mean, once I
don't
see
know.
Endgame a
Yeah.
few more times, I'll
Maybe
probably
not.
be able to quote that a little bit
Yeah.
better. Panic Girl says Avatar was the beginning of real 3D. I guess that's true. Like, the 3D thing really kind of set them apart because it was designed and shot entirely to be 3D with the
Right.
CGI and stuff like that. I'm not a 3D fan, so that's probably why I didn't care for it, but that's me. I mean...
Yeah.
So, Endgame.
Yeah.
Let's just get into it.
It's crazy.
Spoiler alerts, by the way. Massive, massive, massive spoiler alerts.
I mean,
If you're watching this
$2
video...
billion.
Yeah.
You've had to have seen it by now, right?
Yeah, statistically speaking, you've seen it.
Yeah.
But in case you haven't, please know that we're going to be talking spoilers here. Favorite part?
Dude, like beginning to end, there was nothing. I've heard some people complain about like there was a lull, it was too long. I didn't feel that way at all.
I mean,
like, I thought it was great. The pacing was beautiful for me.
I did have a moment towards the beginning of the movie, or well, not really the beginning. It's towards the middle of the movie, where I was like, okay, come on, I need to start seeing some stuff. But it was not because I thought it was boring. It's because it built my anticipation to the point where I was like, somebody punch something for God's sake. And so I think that's the only. That's probably what people were talking about with the lull.
Yeah.
And I just experienced it different than other
Right.
people might have. But yeah, it was. Panic Roll says the pacing was amazing. I can agree with that. It established some of the emotional stakes really early, and it did a really good job of it.
Opening scene just ripped her heart out, man. You're like, holy shit. Like,
Although I will say, Hawkeye's daughter has terrible archery form. Like her elbows like cocked up like this or something. Like, well, that is bad form. You're gonna hurt yourself.
it worked for her, all right? It worked for her.
Yeah, movie magic. Anyways, Panic Roll says Professor Hulk. Professor Hulk was fantastic.
Yeah.
I've said this a couple of times to people talking about the movie. Professor Hulk was something I didn't realize I needed to see before the end of this phase until I saw it.
Right.
And once I saw it, I was just like, oh my god, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think because for me, is because they, other than the Edward Norton Hulk movie that kind of brought him into the MCU officially, we haven't seen a solo Hulk movie.
Right.
And so we've only seen character development for the Hulk in the context of other movies.
Sure.
And I feel like they've actually written that extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you look back on it, you see the progression into Professor Hulk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the movie before this, Thor Ragnarok, like, he was, full sentences.
Yeah.
They were still a little, but, and you...
Yeah, when
they
he's
were
talking to
aware
him
of
about
each
the
other.
car.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like, yeah, you can fully see the development, and they did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Especially, well, I think it was the same writers, but still pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, to arc it over movies like that.
I don't know that it was the same writers for all the movies that the Hulk was in. It might have been, but I don't know. But I agree that they did a really good job of advancing the Hulk storyline in each installment without necessarily making him the central character.
Right.
And it's weird because the Hulk at this point in the Avengers movies is kind of just a supporting role.
Yeah.
Like, I love Mark Ruffalo, love the Hulk, but he is not one of the headliners. But he still serves such a vital role in each of the movies that he's definitely a part of the main roster for the Avengers, but from a casting perspective, he's not one of the headliners. It's weird.
Well, I think it's like that for pretty much every character on there. They do a really good job of giving every character a moment in the movies.
Yeah, I can agree with
There's
that.
like something that like you can walk away like, this guy did this, and like it was strictly him that did this, and it mattered and whatever.
Right. There's something they contributed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just.
Hey, Cheeky Ellie, how's it going?
Hey.
Thank you for joining us. We are doing Avengers Endgame spoilers, so everybody please be aware of that fact. But yeah, I agree. They did a really good job of being like, okay, who can do this thing that needs to be done? This character can do that, and kind of giving them that moment to shine or to come through. I still feel a little bit robbed when it comes to Hawkeye. I'm a big Hawkeye fan in the comics. I like the idea of Jeremy Renner playing him in the MCU. I would love to see him more, and I don't know how much we're going to get of that.
Right.
I was talking to, I think it was my sister, and I was saying that it would be really cool to see Hawkeye and his daughter, or Hawkeye and Kate Bishop.
Right.
Kate Bishop, yeah, from the comics, who kind of takes on the mantle of Hawkeye, and showing the mentorship where he like passes the Hawkeye mantle on to her, because in the MCU we haven't seen a true hero sidekick relationship.
That's true.
Like you kind of have like Cap and Bucky, but they're not really sidekicks. They're fellow soldiers at that point, and they're he's part of the Howling Commandos, and so it doesn't really count in the way that it did in the comics.
Yeah. And
even in the Marvel comics, since the Captain America Bucky comics, they really didn't do the sidekick thing officially.
Yeah.
So I think it would be cool to do like a short mini series on their streaming service or whatever, where Jeremy Renner mentors the new Hawkeye, kind of passes that on, and they can make it really feel really different by focusing on that sidekick dynamic.
Yeah.
So,
dude, I would love that series. That would be great. They got to do something that's like, I mean, so they've announced the Bucky and Sam, Winter Soldier, Captain America
yes.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're doing the WandaVision.
Yep.
And there was a third one they were doing, Loki.
There's Loki.
They've got to have something that's a little bit more grounded. And
yeah,
that would be perfect.
I agree. I think it'd be really cool to kind of see kind of the street level heroes in the two Hawkeyes.
I mean, since they eliminated the other one,
yeah,
take that option off the table.
At least for now.
Yeah.
Daredevil could come back. Ellie says that would be cool. Hawkeye was kind of wasted. I agree. I really like that character, and now we'll never get the Black Widow Hawkeye crossover movie that I wanted to see of them being spies and going out and trying
to find out what Budapest was about.
Yeah, like give us a prequel movie about Budapest. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
mean, you never know. That could be what
True.
They're setting up.
Yeah, there is a Black Widow movie that's been announced, which is going to be weird considering the fact that spoiler alert, she died in Endgame.
Yeah.
How the hell are they going to run that?
It's got to be an origin story. It has to be.
But it's weird to do an origin story or a prequel for a character that's dead in the current timeline. I can only see that confusing audiences.
The only other thing I could think of is, I mean, Black Widow's a title. It's not a character, and there's multiple Black Widows in the comics.
That's
and
true.
There are what's her name?
Yelena Belova.
Yeah. They could end up going that route. Maybe?
I think that was her name.
Something like that. Yeah.
That's true. It could be another person who takes up the Black Widow mantle, which again would be kind of interesting. I've always talked about, the evolution of a character, and if one character who has this mantle, let them die or retire or whatever, and let somebody else take up the mantle and tell their version of those stories. So that would be kind of cool if they went that route.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will, but it would be awesome.
Well, from what I understand, though, they've actually cast some people for the role, and they've confirmed Scarlett, and they've confirmed a director. So
they made some progress on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Huh. Panic Roll says, "Aren't they doing a Black Widow series too? I think it's a movie. It has to be when she was a spy. It might be, but again, the origin story just seems weirdly timed. And it looks like Ellie agrees with that it's kind of past the time for an origin story. So it might be kind of interesting to do might be kind of interesting to do a. What am I thinking of? Maybe she's trapped in the Soul Stone.
And they get her back or something.
And they get her back. What did happen with the Infinity Gem or stones at the end of the movie?
So Cap took them back. So seriously, just think about this. He had to go see the Red Skull. Cap did.
Yeah. Oh my God, I wanted to see that interaction so bad.
And then how did he put the ether back?
He just injected it into what's her name.
What? That was super awkward for him all the way around.
Yeah, they kind of hand waved yada over that particular part. But yeah, the thing about that I want to see the most is him returning the Soul Stone to Red Skull and being like, "Here you go."
Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Red Skull just going, "God dang it, Rogers."
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be like an outtake or a deleted scene or something, because I think that would be kind of funny.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Spider-Man trailer.
Ooh.
There's a possibility right there.
Yeah, that's true. The Spider-Man trailer is very interesting. First off, obviously Spider-Man comes back in Endgame, which is awesome. The thing about it that makes me a little bit like, what the hell? Is the fact that Mysterio is apparently a hero from another dimension.
Yeah, they confirm multiverse.
I don't know that that's true, though.
But I mean, it's Fury and...
Yeah, Mysterio could be pulling one over on them. They don't know this guy. He's from another dimension.
Sure, absolutely. And that might be a great rug pull for people that are super excited about a multiverse.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's one way they could potentially do something with Widow.
True.
There's another Earth.
I do love the... I think that would be cheap, though.
Yeah.
If they did it that way. I don't know.
It's
We'll see what happens.
In the comics. I do agree with you. It would be cheap, but I mean, That's the go-to fix for comics right there.
That's right. Cap took them back where they belonged. Yeet the stone back into the abyss, and no Ravensdale can't do a thing about it. I can just imagine Cap just being like, peace, and just leaving. Although that's gotta be a rough spot, or a rough thing to deal with, because he had to go back to the exact time that the stone was taken.
Right.
Which is when
they were there.
Clint and Natasha were there, and Natasha had to have died.
Which, you know what? Why didn't they have a funeral for her? They had one for Tony.
That's a really good point.
I didn't think of that till right when I read that Yeet the Stone thing. Like,
yeah.
You know what? Maybe she's not dead.
They memorialized Tony, but they didn't memorialize Black Widow.
Which is weird. Cause,
it's very weird.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, so from a movie-making perspective, it kind of makes sense that they would focus on the heroic sacrifice of the character who's not coming back. But if they know that Black Widow's coming back, they wouldn't necessarily want to do a funeral scene for her, because then that takes away that dramatic focus on Tony for a character that's going to eventually come back anyways, and kind of negates that whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point.
Yeah, it never even occurred to me till right now that's...
Yeah, me neither. Huh. But, anyways, Spider-Man. Of course, starts off with spoilers, so if you've seen the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer, you already know that, Tony dies in Endgame. But it's interesting because, actually, Panic Roll, your question is perfectly timed. He asked who takes up the Iron Man suit, and that seems like it's going to be a central theme to the next Spider-Man movie, is like, who's going to become Iron Man now?
Yeah.
And it seems like they're kind of hinting that it's going to be Peter Parker.
Right.
I hope that's not the way they go with it.
Yeah, me too.
Because I like him as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they're Spider-Man and Iron Man, Peter Parker, Tony Stark, they fill very different roles.
Oh, yeah.
Both within a team and within the larger universe. And so I really am hoping that they don't go that route.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, he even says at one point, I'm just your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and Fury has that cute little line.
You've been to space.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that it's in his future, and I hope they don't go that route too. But they are hinting at that. Hello. Yeah, they are hinting at that big question.
Yeah.
Who's the next Iron Man?
Yeah. Who is Iron Man?
Which I wonder if.
So Panic Roll just mentioned something that I have been thinking ever since I found out who this was. It says that the kid from Iron Man 3 was at the funeral. Right. He was towards the back of the funeral crowd.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him take up the Iron Man role. Because, he was shown, like, tinkering around and stuff like that.
Right.
Iron Man gave him the workshop and all the tools. So I wouldn't be surprised if he did grow up to kind of fill that role.
That would be cool.
And as I was mentioning to you before the stream started, I did hear a rumor that they were going to do a Young Avengers storyline. So it would be kind of cool to see him step into the role of Iron Man for that particular team.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a cool way of kind of continuing on, what they established in Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
Peter isn't really best utilized inside the Iron Man suit. It'd be fun to see Shuri take up the Iron Man suit. And that's another option, is having Shuri take it up. Because in the comics, there was... What was her name?
Riri Williams?
Yeah, Riri Williams. She's a black, mechanical engineering genius. And she briefly takes up... I don't know if she still is. She takes up the mantle of Iron Man.
Ironheart.
Ironheart, sorry. It was originally Iron Man, and then she probably took up Ironheart when Tony Stark came back into the picture. So it'd be interesting to kind of see if they combine Shuri and, Riri Williams into one character in the MCU. Have her kind of be Iron Man. I think that would be cool.
I mean, they kind of set her character up like that. Like, in the comics, she's, more intelligent than anybody else around her.
Yeah.
Like, she's, one of the most brilliant people in the universe. And they kind of set Shuri up that way, too. Like, she's... Why didn't you do it this way? Because we didn't think of it.
Right.
You poor thing. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys are so cute. It was a good attempt.
So, I mean, that would be awesome. I would be cool with that. That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. Whether or not that'll happen, we'll have to see. But I forgot Riri Williams' name. Yeah, that was the character in the comics. So Actually, interesting side note, at the same time that Riri Williams took over the Iron Man mantle in the comics, so did Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
He became the superior Iron Man, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, superior Iron Man.
And I haven't read the arc yet, but I love the concept of Doctor Doom trying to be Iron Man and just being like, yes, I've saved you, pitiful peasant. I mean, yeah, innocent bystanders. I gotta go. I'm a huge Doctor Doom fan, but... So, did you have a favorite moment in the movie?
I mean...
I did.
The most surprising moment for me probably was when they caught Thanos at the beginning and Thor just handled him. Like, yeah. I literally like slapped myself in the face. Like, I was so shocked that it happened. I think that was probably the most like gut punch moment for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that being kind of shocking. It's like, oh crap, where do they go from here?
Yeah, it's like, dude, 10 minutes in, what the hell's going on? Yeah,
yeah, that was a cool moment for sure.
But for a favorite moment, I think it's going to be the same as yours. So you go ahead and explain it because it's just epic.
It's got to be the moment Captain America picks up the hammer.
God, dude.
Oh my god, I cheered. I thought I was relatively subdued about it. My wife and my friend told me after the fact I was not very quiet. Apparently it was extremely loud, and I kind of apologized to the people in the theater for that, but only a little bit.
Right.
Because it was so good.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing.
So good. I just love the way he just picked it up and was like, I've never used this thing before, but...
Yeah, and he was whooping that.
Oh, he was... It was so good.
Yeah.
Hold on. Love the moment when the women backed up Captain Marvel and Thor talked to his mom when Steve picked up Mjolnir. Casher says my ear is still bleeding. Yeah, I was a bit loud. I apologize for that. But it was just... It was hinted at in Age of Ultron. They never came back to it over the course of like however many movies were between that and this one. And then in the middle of the fight, all of a sudden, he's just kicking ass with it. And it just... In 10 years of movie, that was the one moment that I absolutely could not wait to see.
Yeah. But the thing that was beautiful about it was the way they brought Mjolnir back. Because you didn't have any inkling that's why it was coming back.
Yeah.
That's clearly why they were doing it, but...
Yeah, exactly.
But he was like, I'm still worthy, and like...
Yeah.
So, it didn't even cross my mind.
And like, when Thor took Mjolnir into the future with him, I was like... But now your Thor doesn't have Mjolnir. And I guess they're going to turn it back, like, return it at the time that it... Right at the moment it was taken away, but still, it just was... I didn't even consider that. When it came back into the present day... I didn't even consider the fact that it was going to give him the opportunity to use it.
Yeah.
And then when Thor kind of like rushed in there with Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, and then one of them dropped, I was like, and it happened exactly the way I wanted to.
It was a complete surprise to me. Like even after it hit Thanos and stuff, I was like, Thor's controlling it. Like it didn't. And then when he caught it, I was just like, oh my god. Like,
yeah, it was
so good.
If I only ever saw that part, like that scene of the movie going forward for the rest of my life, I'd be happy. Because it's such a good scene.
That uppercut, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's
with the lightning, like he staggers him with the lightning and then hits him with the uppercut.
So epic. Yeah, that was probably my favorite moment for sure.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And then the moment where like he catches Stormbreaker and Thor catches Mjolnir. And they kind of look at each other. He's like, no, you take the little one.
Yeah. They did a really good job of turning Thor into... He's still a badass.
Yeah.
But they did like the comic relief. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, after Thor Ragnarok, he's like...
Yeah.
Dude, everything about him, like, is this new Master 69? Like, you better get off. This is Thor. Like, oh my god, that was killing me, dude. That's so funny.
Fat Thor was... fantastic. I loved that. And aside from the joke factor, the laugh factor, it actually kind of made some sense. Like, here's a guy who went through everything that he went through, saving his people from Hela, and then fighting Thanos and everything like that, and going and getting Stormbreaker and coming back and almost killing Thanos, and then he snaps at the end of Infinity War, and then they finally chase him down.
Right.
And he gets to kill him, but he still can't fix everything. Right. He still failed, even though he defeated Thanos. And so it totally makes sense for him to fall into this depression And as Guardians, they can party hard, but they can also fall into depression pretty hard. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense that he swung in that direction for an extended period of time. But just because he was depressed and, he was overweight, didn't mean he wasn't worthy of Mjolnir.
Right.
When he went back in time. And I thought that was probably one of the coolest little details about that whole kind of character arc that Thor went through over the course of the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
So it basically saying that, you don't have to be at your best to still be worthy. Yeah. So, and I think that's a good message for everybody to take away, kind of just in general. Even when you're feeling at your lowest, that doesn't mean you're not worthy. So.
Yeah, that's a solid message. They did a really good job, layering in a lot of messages in this. The whole movie was kind of, Thor got to talk to his mom again.
Which was such a heartbreaking scene. Yeah.
The fact that she was aware of it all was
she's like, oh, no, I know you're not my Thor. You don't train with witches like I did for so long, and not know, or whatever she said.
And then he tried telling her, and she's like, no, you're not here to fix my future. You're here to fix yours. She knew what was going on. That's so crazy. And, Tony getting to talk to his dad.
Yep. Scott coming back from the quantum realm at the beginning and finally finding Cassie, at her house. That was a really good moment. Paul Rudd does a really good kind of subdued emotional response. Yeah. Because he's known for kind of overacting just a little bit, being very animated and exaggerated. So it's great to see him be kind of serious and dramatic about it. So that was really good.
Yeah, it's so crazy. When the scene where he was looking for her name, I was like, dude, I'm not ready for this. Yeah. I'm so not ready. And then his name was there, and I was like, oh, okay, we're good. We're good.
Let's see. I also loved when Thanos had to call in the air support because of Scarlet Witch. She would have ended him right there. If not, yes. I agree completely. She was going to freaking kill him.
Yeah, she had him.
And he knew he was like, well, this is... Oh wait, big guns.
Code Red.
Yeah, that was a good moment. And just the overall, I will say it. I think it's a little bit of pandering to have all the women kind of face off against the army, all on the same screen, or the same shot. Right. But it was awesome pandering. Yeah. Because just seeing the number of really strong, really cool female characters was holy shit, why have they not done a female-only Avengers movie yet?
Yeah, they have plenty for a team. There's so many characters.
Yeah. It would be really cool to see Valkyrie pick up Mjolnir in future.
Do a female Thor thing. Yeah. That would be awesome.
Oh, Lady Thor. Yeah. I want to see it so bad. Yeah. Sorry I dropped out, but I'm back now. Welcome back. Peter hugging Tony was a great moment, and they're not even my faves. Oh, yeah. I can agree with that.
It was kind of weird, though, the way they did it. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but how Pepper was there, and then she was like, okay. Kid. Yeah. It was kind of, I don't know. It was weird.
I thought that was good because I feel like if they had skipped Peter kind of talking to Tony and kind of coming to the realization that he wasn't going to survive, it would have felt a little bit like a missed opportunity because Tony was so important to Iron Man's story. Right. But obviously Pepper had to take center stage in that scene because this is her husband, the father of her daughter, all that stuff. So I think the way they handled it is probably the best way they could have. Right. Because they couldn't give every character, a moment to sit down and, kind of say a goodbye. Kind of like in Deadpool 2, where he just keeps doing stuff and then he finally dies. But getting Spider-Man in there and then getting Pepper in there, I think, was probably the most important ones.
Yeah, I mean, I could have made an argument for Brody, maybe, but
he was standing right there. Yeah. And he's a military guy, so he kind of, he's got that kind of background. Not to say it didn't affect him in the slightest, because it probably really did. Yeah. But, in the moment, he probably was thinking more from the perspective of he did what needed to be done. He's, we won because of him.
Amazing character arc. Super amazing. He started out selfish playboy, and then at the end, how did Cap word it? You're not the guy to lay down on the wire? Yeah. That's what he did. Yep. So, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I never really thought about that, but Tony does really go from, kind of cavalier, cocky, I am Iron Man, you can't have my stuff. I privatized world peace and all that stuff from, the early Iron Man movies. And then after the Avengers, and he kind of gets the vision, he goes into like paranoia mode.
Yeah.
And he overcorrects in trying to be prepared for whatever's going to happen. And you kind of see him devolve a little bit during that time, and even Pepper is like, you need to stop.
Right.
This is going too far, And then, like you said, towards the end of it, he's getting to the point where he's like, I can let go of this. I don't need to be involved in this anymore.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he gets dragged back in. So I that is a really good arc for that particular character.
Yeah.
So
they did a great job. I mean, other than the alcoholism that he dealt with in the comic, I think there was no better way to do it. And they kind of let him have those demons without letting him have those demons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It bothered me Bucky didn't say goodbye to Cap.
Maybe more than the military thing.
I think for that one it was more a matter of, they.
I mean, they had a deep understanding.
Yeah, they just had such a strong friendship that I don't know that it was strictly necessary. And don't forget, you see Cap say goodbye to Falcon at the end of the movie, but Cap doesn't leave at the end of the movie.
Right. Cap
is still there, so I'm sure Bucky got the chance to talk to him and, kind of get that closure just off screen.
Right.
So I can appreciate that.
How do you are you good with Sam being the new Cap?
I'm 100% behind it.
You're not sad at all that Bucky didn't get it?
No. Bucky. So it's kind of interesting with Bucky because he starts off as Bucky, normal guy, competent soldier, friend of Captain America, quote unquote dies, comes back, super soldier, bionic arm, all this stuff, Winter Soldier. Then once they kind of get rid of the Winter Soldier programming, he's back to being Bucky, but he's not really Bucky anymore because he's still got the mechanical arm and the super soldier thing going on. So who is he going forward? I don't think Captain America is the right mantle for him as of where he is now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the best place for him really is that farm he had in Wakanda.
Yeah.
Just simple life.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Eking it out by himself.
Yep.
Contemplating what he did. Yeah.
I feel like Sam has... Bucky was loyal to Captain America. He was he was loyal to Steve and the people that Steve trusted. I don't think Bucky is particularly loyal to America or the idea of America.
Right.
He's too much a free agent, sort of. Whereas the Falcon, because he was a soldier and he worked with Captain America for so long, I feel like he kind of gets the importance that Steve put behind the name and the shield a little bit better than Bucky does.
Yeah, I mean the line he said, I don't want to live in a world without Cap, or it's going to be weird waking up in a world without Cap, and he's like, you don't have to, or whatever, like that. That kind of encompasses what you're saying, I think. So
yeah,
that was really beautifully done, though, the way they passed it on.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm sure there's tons of theories about how that broke everything timeline-wise or whatever, but yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. I think it was beautiful. I love the ending for it. It was great for Cap. It's a good way for him to go. I'm glad they didn't kill him off.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, you could always make the argument that once Sam is done with the shield and ready to retire, he just uses quantum, Pym particles to travel through the quantum realm to return the shield to the exact point where Steve Rogers, took it. Therefore, it was never truly missed in that timeline, and so everything's fine.
Yeah.
See, with enough application of comic book science and time travel theory, you can solve anything.
Yep.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Who else do we need to talk about? I
have another big question.
Go for it.
Loki.
Oh, Loki. Damn, man.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be setting him up for the series, but...
It's got to be.
No wasted opportunity there. He was like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. He would do that, too. He sees an opportunity to do something. He's going to...
Yeah.
Especially with something that benefits himself, he's going to take it.
Right.
Actually, I love that whole sequence that took place after the credits of the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
They did a great job of kind of recreating everything. And it was interesting to see, like, after the dramatic pose where they're, like, you know, staring down Loki, it's kind of interesting to see how that kind of wrapped up a little. Like,
right.
And having the Hydra agents show up to take, you know, the Scepter and the Tesseract, those were really cool because, of course, at the time you don't know. But in retrospect, you're like, I know who those guys are. Right. Don't trust those guys. And the elevator scene was great.
So good. That was the best callback. Best callback ever.
Because the elevator fight scene in Winter Soldier was
amazing.
Great. It was the best. And the funny thing is that's actually a callback to the Civil War comics in like the first Civil War story arc. It's kind of a callback to when Cap shows up on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier and he's talking to Mariah Hill, who was the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time, and she's like, well, you're either going to do this or, you know, we're going to have a problem. And he basically is like, I'm not compromising the freedoms and the civil rights of people that trust me, you know, to follow your orders, so it looks like we're going to have a problem.
Right.
And he basically, like, fights his way out of a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, smashes through the big window, and, like, lands on a fighter jet that's flying by, and he's like, I'm gonna need you to drop me off, son. And because he's Captain America, the pilot frickin' does it.
Yeah,
you don't, like, you're not gonna drop Captain America from, you know, 4,000 feet or whatever. And so in the Winter Soldier, you know, obviously he's fighting in the elevator, but he still jumps out the window and, like, lands on his shield and everything. Right. So it's got some different callbacks.
I was waiting for that. I was totally ready to see that fight scene happen again. I was
Me too.
Ready for. I was just waiting for the "Does anybody want to get off?" line.
Yeah.
And then leaned in and so
good. Oh man,
so
that was so good. And what I think is great about that is it shows a little bit of evolution for Cap too.
Yeah.
Because he's learned that sometimes you don't need to throw punches in order to solve your problem. Sometimes just the right little lie can be enough to get you where you need to go.
Yeah, I guess hanging around with Romanoff rubbed off on him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. That's a total Black Widow move.
Yeah.
I could have seen her doing that. Like, if you had taken him out of that scene and put her in it, I would have totally believed it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It was so good, though. They all looked so confused when he was walking away from the elevator. They were just like, what just happened?
Yep. Had they stuck to the comics, Bucky should have had the shield before Sam. I agree that that's the way it happened in the comics, but again, where the characters are in the movie, I don't think Bucky was the right pick for the shield. I think Sam was. A lot of butthurt fangirls about Loki. Tumblr making me roll my eyes hard enough to see my brain. What?
Yeah, what were they mad about?
I don't know. You're going to have to let me know what they were mad about as far as that goes. I haven't seen that. You hated the Hail Hydra moment, Panic Roll? See, I liked it because it was him clearly, like, using subterfuge to get what he wanted. He was doing the spy thing. However, it does call back to the comic books with, like, the Hydra Cap,
right,
who I think was a clone or something weird. I don't know what that ended up being.
They used a cosmic cube to go back and turn him into a Hydra agent before whatever.
All right.
But that's actually what I liked about it, because when that whole thing happened and like America was freaking out about it, for good reason. But the Chris Evans actually was on Twitter, like, ripping apart Captain America comics, and he was, like, super mad about it. And the fact that he could go back and pull that off, like it gives me hope that the country's moving forward from, like, whatever. So, like, I really love that about it. I thought it was just awesome that he did it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I really love that.
I hated it in the comics because they tried to play it for true drama purposes. I liked it in the movie because they were kind of snubbing the comic book thing. Yeah. They were very much kind of spitting in its eye because they were like, yeah, you don't make Captain America a Nazi, dumbasses.
Right.
And clearly the people who made the movies understood that when the people who made the comics didn't. So yeah, I appreciated that particular scene and the way it worked. Toxic fangirls forgetting that Loki is in the Thor movies and resenting anything that puts him on the back burner. Thought he should have had a bigger role in Endgame. Okay, now, I've got mixed feelings on that. I agree. I think he should have had a bigger role in Endgame, but that's just because I like Tom Hiddleston as Loki so much. I don't know where they would have fit him in. I don't know how they could have included him. I wish they could have.
Well, I mean,
I'm not sad that they didn't.
They killed him in Infinity War. That Loki's dead.
Which is stupid. The way they killed him was the dumbest thing in the world.
I totally thought, out of everybody getting out of it, I thought for sure he was a shoo-in. Like
for sure. Like he was going to be like, ha, fooled you the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were theories about that's who Banner was. That's why he couldn't turn into the Hulk. And there was like crazy theories about it. So
that would have been an interesting.
Right.
That would have been an interesting take on that.
Last moment
little subterfuge, misdirection.
But the fact that he's in any time period, really, he's a Tesseract. He can go wherever he wants. So
yep, I can agree.
I'm totally on board for it, and I mean, he's getting this whole series. So
yeah, that's their issue too. It just didn't fit, so it's irrational to be resentful about Endgame. I agree. Like there wouldn't have been any place for them to neatly, like, insert him into the movie, like the events of the movie after that scene with him in it.
Right.
I'm glad they did what they did. It kind of sets up for the Loki streaming show, like the series. I don't think it needed to be an Endgame. It would have been cool if they had, but it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Speaking of kind of like how they allowed Loki to get out of dying and everything like that, I like kind of what they did with Gamora.
Yeah.
Because in Infinity War, they were like, oh, obviously Thanos sacrifices her to get the Soul Stone. Moving into Endgame, they're like, oh, we had Clint had to sacrifice Nat to get the Soul Stone. Now that it's back, we can't undo that.
Right.
Like, you can't take away the sacrifice, because then it means that you didn't actually really sacrifice anything.
Right.
Thus, you shouldn't have gotten the Soul Stone to begin with. Same thing with Gamora. If they had used the stones to bring her back to go into the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, it would have completely invalidated that whole concept, and it would have just infuriated me that, well, why can't they bring back Black Widow when they clearly can use it to bring back Gamora?
Yeah.
But they got around that. They skirted that by basically saying, well, the whole reason that she is here in the future is because of the Pym particles. She traveled through the quantum realm via Pym particles,
right,
not through the Time Stone.
Yeah.
And so that circumvented the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great concept, because they specifically say the quantum realm is its own little universe.
Yeah.
The Infinity Stones are the building blocks, the forces of creation in our universe.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have any effect on the quantum realm.
Well, the thing that's really great about the way they did that too was she was Gamora from 2014.
Exactly.
Like, she came back. She still hated Thanos. Was kind of iffy about Nebula.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know who the guy that was trying to kiss her was. You know what I mean? Like, it was, and at the end she wasn't just like, oh, I'm with you guys now. She was gone.
Yeah, she booked it.
Yeah.
And I think that's great, because it kind of sets up a sort of a Search for Spock type feel from the original Star Trek movies, where they have to go out and find Gamora and convince her, hey, no, like, you should be with us. Right. Trust me on this. It's going to work out.
Yeah, with Captain Thor and the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
Exactly. And I'm really, really curious how that's going to roll. Like, how they're going to write it, how they're going to approach that particular story piece.
Yeah.
I think it makes for some really good, like, drama for Star-Lord. Because in the second one, of course, he meets his dad, has to kill him, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Now he's like, okay, well, the person that I was in love with died, and now she's back in front of me, but that's not technically the person that I was in love with.
Right.
And then how do they do that? Are they going to try to have him... Like, obviously, like, if it was me, and my wife died that way, and all of a sudden a past version of her was standing in front of me, I wouldn't be like, well, you're a different person. See you later. I'd be like, no, you're supposed to love me. How can I make you love me?
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yeah. Again, it depends on how much they source material it, but at some point, Gamora is actually a villain in the comics.
That's true.
And it would be kind of interesting if she kind of fills Thanos' void.
Maybe, but she wasn't... Like, at no point during...
I mean, even when Thor beheaded Thanos,
yeah,
Nebula was kind of sad.
Yeah.
Like, they still care for him, even so he's a monster.
It's got that twisted, like, familial
Stockholm
complex. Yeah, I can see that. Like, it would be interesting to see her trying to bring Thanos back somehow.
Yeah.
And then kind of trying to stop her from doing that. But again, if they do that, they're introducing a storyline that, if she's successful, completely invalidates the struggle from the entire 10 years of movies.
That's true.
And so I think they have to try to avoid anything like that, because otherwise the people who invested so much emotion and money and time into these characters are going to be like, well, if she wins, then Thanos just comes back, and then everybody died for no reason.
Right.
And I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, I mean, they have a really...
Kasher says it's Helsinki syndrome.
Helsinki. That's awesome.
That is a callback to Die Hard. I want to say it's Die Hard 2, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So Google Die Hard 2 Helsinki syndrome. I'm sure you'll find a clip on YouTube. I don't see that as anything Gamora would actually want to do. I could see her as being a free agent, mucking things up for the Guardians. I could see that. Like, she's always had this rivalry with Nebula. Is it Die Hard 1? No. Maybe it is Die Hard 1. It's one of the Die Hards. Anyways, I could see Gamora kind of being like mercenary-ish, and then being hired to do something that is getting in the Guardians' way. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
So
maybe she gets a team together, some new characters or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'd be great.
There was something else I wanted to talk about, and I forgot what it was. It was...
There's so many moments in there, it's hard to...
Yeah, there really are. I'm drawing a blank.
So one of the things that I really loved in the final battle sequence was in the original Avengers, that huge space well, whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Comes flying in and Hulk takes it out. And seeing Ant-Man punch that one was so awesome. Like, yeah. I really loved that. I mean, he's just a regular guy, but when he's big, he's super powerful. Like, kind of on Hulk level, you know what I mean? Well, not on Hulk level, but
near Hulk level.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he was able to take the thing out in one punch.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That was a really great shot, too, because it actually had all the characters. They've managed to do that in every Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Where they have a scene where their whole team's moving. Like, and that was the shot for it. Like, it was really good. I like that.
Yeah, like, you kind of see, like, they pan back and you see kind of, like, the whole line. And at the far end of the line, you've got Ant-Man, and he's, like, huge compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
Avengers Assemble.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's the only time they say it in the entire run of movies.
Yeah.
So it's the only time we're ever going to hear Chris Evans, Captain America, say the tagline.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those things that I've been waiting to hear on screen for 10 freaking years. And, of course, they gave it to us right at the last possible moment that they could.
Yeah, it was a hugely emotional moment. I mean, he's standing there by himself. And, like,
oh, that's such a good scene. Like, you know, he kicks Thanos' ass with Mjolnir. Thanos rallies, breaks the shield, throws him, you know, onto the ground, and gets back up as the army's teleporting in, and he still walks out there to face them.
Yeah.
Because he's Captain America, and he's going to do something, even if it doesn't amount to anything.
Yeah.
He's going to do something.
Yeah, he's not backing up.
So, yep.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There was just so much great stuff in this. The way they, like, kind of parodied themselves was amazing. Like, the whole, I can do this all. Yeah, I know. Like, that line was so good.
That is America's ass.
Oh, yeah.
That was a good line. Ellie says, love the moment where Sam said on your left and everyone comes back from the snap and joins the battle. Yeah, I don't know why. I knew it was going to happen, but for some reason I wasn't expecting it to happen that way.
Yeah.
Just because with everything that had happened, I'd kind of forgotten that Hulk snapped.
Right.
And nothing really happened other than him, like, getting charred.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, right. His snap was to bring everybody back, of course.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they all came back through the portals, and that was a really good moment.
Most dramatic timing they could have.
Yeah. I was a big fan of... I wasn't necessarily a big fan. I thought it was really interesting that at no point during the movie does the Hulk throw a punch.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight anybody.
Yeah.
And I thought it was such a great thing to have him be smart Hulk, like Professor Hulk. He's got all that physical power and everything, but it's like Thor said in Ragnarok, Banner's the real hero.
Yeah.
It's his mind.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him, a weapon against the bad guys.
Right.
Yeah, sure, he can throw a punch, but...
I still wanted to see him smash some stuff, though.
Yeah, it would have been cool to see him do that as Smart Hulk, but, I mean, I was happy with the way they kind of wrote the character throughout the movie.
Yeah, I mean, the scene where they first meet up with him, and Ant-Man's there in the restaurant, and they're trying to take the picture, and, like, so awkward.
Oh, yeah.
So great.
You guys want to get a picture with me? No thanks.
Yeah. No, they do. You take the picture with them. Oh, so good.
Just take the goddamn phone.
Yeah.
That was good. Panic roll. Can we talk about how Cull died? That dude had the two most horrible deaths in Infinity War and Endgame. Which one was Cull?
He was the big one, right?
Oh, he's the big dude?
Yeah.
So I know in Infinity War he dies because Banner latches one of the Iron Man gauntlets onto him, and then it drags him up into the shield and across it.
Yeah.
The guy with the pickaxe, the big dude, I'm assuming is who you mean.
Right.
I know he dies that way in Infinity War. I actually don't know if I noticed how he died in
Dude, he got knifed
Endgame.
up. Drax got a hold of him.
Oh, did he really?
He jumped on his back and was just... I don't remember exactly what the kill shot was, but I just remember Drax being on his back and just going to town on him.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I don't remember. How did he finish him off?
Yeah, Panic Girl, you have to remind me because I don't remember that particular moment. Oh, stomped and squished by Ant-Man.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny. I don't know if that necessarily killed him, though. He might have just been out of commission until Tony snapped.
Yeah.
So
the mercy snap in his case, because he had to be hurting.
Yep.
Yeah, the Black Hand or Black Legion or whatever they're called.
Oh, God, I don't remember what they were called. Something like that, yeah.
I don't know. But they weren't really too much of a factor in this one.
They weren't. And I think for the most part that's good. It makes sense that they would be there because he brought them from back in time. So they're still alive technically. But we saw those fights.
Yeah.
And I think rehashing them at length would probably be... In the theater, I think it would be a bit much.
Yeah.
I believe, from what I heard, the director's cut of that battle sequence is supposed to be significantly longer than what we got in the theaters.
Another 3 hours, I hope.
Man, I cannot... The Black Order. Thank you, Panic Girl. That's what they were called, the Black Order. I would love to get, an hour dedicated entirely to that fight scene.
Yeah.
I would be very happy with that. I don't know if that's how long the director's cut is going to be, but I've got my fingers crossed.
I mean, I loved Infinity War a lot, and I love the fights in it and everything, but the fight scene, the end fight scene in this actually felt like the comic. To me, the way everybody was coming
Thor,
in.
Iron Man, Cap against Thanos?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, it felt like that was the best representation of the comic, of how he, laid waste to everybody. I don't know, I love that part. So good.
Now, what's really interesting to me is the way... it's the escalation of it, right? Because in Infinity War, they're fighting against Thanos, who has some of the stones, and by the end of it, he gets all of them.
Right.
And so you're like, okay, how are they going to overcome this guy? Holy crap, they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't win. And then they bring him back in Endgame, and he's less powerful.
Not really.
Not much, but he's still less powerful than he was with the gauntlets. And so it's really cool to see the fact that it's still a dramatic fight. There's still high stakes. You still aren't entirely sure who's going to make it out alive because this is still Thanos we're talking about.
Right.
And it's just weird because you don't normally see that in a movie series or even a TV series or whatever. Usually it's, the heroes fight the bad guys as he sequentially gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and then they face him at the height of his power and they overcome at that point in time.
Right.
So it was really interesting to see they can't beat him at the height of his power, and so they cheat a little bit and they fight him when he's less powerful, and it's still a satisfying end or climax to the story.
I mean, he kind of did win anyways, even when you think about it like that. He got the gauntlet from him.
He did.
It's just Stark outthought him.
Yeah.
And had, a Stark glove, basically, is what saved him.
He's able to be like, give those to me, and the one glove responded to that and dropped the stones.
Yeah.
Thanos wrecked Cap's shield. Yeah, that was a good moment. I gotta be honest. I hate seeing it broken, but it was awesome.
In the trailer, I went back. In the trailer, it shows him when he's strapping up his broken arm, and the shield's intact. So that was one of their little misdirection things.
Gotcha.
But yeah, dude, I do hate seeing it broken too. Like, it bugs me.
But it was a great moment.
Yeah.
Because up until this point, like, you've seen Cap's shield absorb some pretty serious blows, including one from Thor himself in the first Avengers movie, and he's fine.
Yeah.
And so to see Thanos just like hack it into pieces
with just like a blade too, it wasn't even like a special, it wasn't the gauntlet. It was just
it's just the sword he uses when he's out doing his killing exercises.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really interesting the kind of the de-escalation of the end game of the end boss still managing to be really compelling. I thought that's a sign of good storytelling, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, T'Challa would have asked Shuri to fix it. Yeah, for sure. T'Challa and Shuri probably would have fixed the shield in the modern day, no problem, because they have all the vibranium they could possibly need.
Right.
Which is another thing that makes me think that like it wasn't necessarily critical for Cap to show up with the shield from the past, Like he theoretically they could have just said, "Hey, T'Challa, can you go ahead and make us another one of these?"
Right.
And I guess depending on how you want to look at it, you could argue that that's what he did. Maybe he didn't come back to the present, right there. Maybe he jumped back or forward in time and talked to T'Challa, got a new shield, and then went back and gave it to Sam.
That would be cool.
So that he didn't throw off the timeline. I mean, that's the more responsible Captain America-y thing to do, but it would be kind of hard to explain that in the context of the movie.
I don't know, man. I could watch a movie of him, like, old man Cap getting up that morning.
Yeah.
The world's wrecked, and he's like, I'm going to take the shield. He's, like, leisurely walking. This battle's raging. Like, I don't know. That would be great. I could watch that show.
Panic Girl says, do you guys know if Okoye gets her own movie? I hope so. I would love to see Okoye getting her own film. I would even love to see, like we were talking about before, like a female Avengers movie with Okoye kind of taking over the Black Widow role, or something similar. Like
she seems like she'd be the leader to me. Like she's really
sorry, she's not Black Widow. It's the other lady from Black Panther. What was her name?
The love interest.
Nakia? Okoye? No, because it's Okoye and
it's something with the N. I can't remember what it is though. I think
I forgot her name, but she would make a great Black Widow.
Yeah.
I would watch the hell out of Old Cap and an Okoye movie. Yeah, I can agree with that. Nakia, thank you, Nakia. I always want to say Nokia, and I'm like, no, that's a phone. Nakia, yeah, she would make a good Black Widow.
Yeah, she's kind of like a spy.
She really is. So that would be awesome. So moving away from the Endgame just a little bit, have you watched any of the Cloak and Dagger TV show?
No.
I haven't either.
I would love to though, because those two characters are awesome. Like
I agree.
They were very critical for the original Infinity War too.
They were.
Yeah.
Cloak made him he was huge in being able to get them back and forth.
Yeah.
So, but I would really like to see them revisit like Daredevil and Luke Cage and like the whole Defenders thing and Cloak and Dagger. Like once they bring all those onto the Disney streaming service, I would love to see all those characters together in like a larger, like street level MCU type of thing.
So I think was it Freeform or whatever that Cloak and Dagger's on? I think Disney does own that, so I don't know if they're going to ever move from that.
Okay.
Excuse me, but I know that they did announce that they have plans for Hulu. I don't know if that means Daredevil and them, but they've announced that stuff's coming to Hulu soon.
Yeah, but if they do that, then they would just have to like bring it back over to the Disney streaming service anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They own it though now. They got that in part of the Fox still.
Hulu?
Yeah.
Oh.
Disney owns Hulu now.
Oh, crap. Well, then why didn't they just use that as their streaming service?
I don't know.
Why do they have to come up with another one?
Yeah, money.
Anyways.
$2 billion in 2 weekends isn't enough.
Yeah, seriously.
But I mean...
So much money.
I don't know. I would really like to see like, I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I know it's kind of fallen off a little bit, and a lot of people are kind of not into it or whatever, but, like, there's some good characters there in Coulson, and there's a video you guys gotta watch. It's, I don't think it's a teaser for the new season, but it's a little, like, 15-second thing of Coulson dressed as Peggy Carter, and he's, like, crying, and he's like, it should have been me, it's so funny, and then, like, the chick who plays Daisy, like, holds up a sign about, like, season 6 or whatever, but you gotta see it, it's so hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's actually one thing that I am a little bit disappointed about.
Yeah.
Is that no Coulson in Endgame.
Yeah.
They didn't allude to it. There was nothing in there. And I'm so disappointed in that because I feel like the fact that well, I guess when I think about it, I'm two ways about it. It would be great for him. It would have been great for him to see Cap and be able to have a discussion before he left the series. But on the other hand, his death is kind of what prompted them to come together as a team ultimately.
Right.
And to have him show up right at the end might kind of give you the feeling of, would understandably give some of the characters the feeling of, wait, the whole thing was a lie the whole time?
Right.
And I can see that causing some conflicting character stuff going on.
I know how they could have done it without causing that. Instead of Cap sitting on a bench, car rolls up, Coulson gets out, an old Coulson, or maybe even like the kind of current Coulson, and opens the door for old Cap. That would have been kind of cool.
That might have been cool.
Nobody that was there would have, other than Cap, but he would have like lived through with Coulson. So
yeah, that's true. They could have run it that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
Missed opportunities.
Yep.
I saw the old Dub Smash video with the Agents cast singing "We Are the Champions." I have not seen that.
Yeah,
I'll have to check that out. One of the things I liked about the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast is that they all seem to be really good friends outside of the show.
Yeah.
I know, like, even Ward, who, spoiler alert for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., ended up being a bad guy, even he, like, they all were just on really good terms outside of the show, and it was just really cool to see that. I haven't watched it in a few seasons. I think I stopped watching right before the Ghost Rider season.
That's actually one of the ones they confirmed for Hulu.
Oh, that's right.
And it's the same actor.
That's right, because they're bringing that back. And Damien Hellstrom.
Right. Sun Satan.
Which is such a weird one.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they're going to be doing another Strange. I think it's kind of, maybe they're setting up the mystical.
They're going to have to be. And I'll be honest, that would be kind of an interesting take to see.
Yeah.
They've also got the Runaways show on. I think it's on Hulu.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, and I think they confirmed a new season for that as well.
I need to watch that, actually, because the first Runaways, like the first run of the Runaways comic, was really good. Way better than I expected it to be.
I've read like 2 issues, but they were like not consecutive.
Right.
So I have no idea.
I don't even remember what year it's from at this point. It was a while ago that came out. It was like, it had to have been right before the Civil War storyline, which happened in 2008, I think.
Okay.
So it must have been like 2005, 2006 or something when that came out. They did a crossover between Runaways and Young Avengers. Okay. Because that launched right around the same time frame. And that was a great crossover storyline. I really liked those casts of characters and the way they interacted. That kind of brings me to something that I was thinking about the other day when I was talking to somebody about Shazam.
Okay.
Have you seen that yet?
I have not.
Oh, okay. So
I'm okay. Spoil away.
So I'm just going to say this, and I don't necessarily believe this wholeheartedly or 100%, but comics are for kids, right? Like, I mean, that's pretty much the target demographic is kids, teenagers, and the fact that so many adults love comic books is kind of an added bonus from the comic industry's perspective.
Yeah.
They started off being geared towards getting kids to read them.
Yeah.
And so as a result, a lot of the comics, a lot of the superhero origin stories really focused on that transition from being a kid to being an adult.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden these, all these kid characters, these teenagers, these young adults found themselves imbued with great power. It's an allegory for being an adult and having responsibilities and having the power to change the world and all this stuff, right? I don't know that the MCU movies have touched on that aspect of like the psychology behind superheroes and comic books at all. They really haven't addressed young heroes up to this point. So the fact that they've got the Runaways show and Cloak and Dagger, and those seem to be doing well, people seem to be liking those, I'm really interested to see if they're going to take that direction with the MCU, where they are going to focus on younger characters more.
I mean, just from a movie-making standpoint, that makes the most sense, too, because I don't know for sure, but it seems like they're probably going to do some kind of arc again, like some spanning over however many films.
Yep.
Maybe not as long, maybe half that or whatever, but it would make sense to have younger actors that can roll their role. So
yeah, I can agree with that. And I feel like Tom Holland is the only MCU like legit movie character that we see start off basically as a teenager.
Yeah.
When he's got his powers and he's kind of going through that journey while we watch him.
Right. But they haven't really given him that whole kid aspect. I don't know how old the actor is.
I feel like Tom Holland's younger. I don't know that he's like
yeah, that's
I guess early 20s. I was gonna say I don't know that he's a teenager, but he's young enough that he looks like he could pull off the teenager thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be critical for future installments of the Marvel movies, because like you said, some of the adult actors like they've kind of got to the point where they were like, I'm done with this.
Yeah. And
rightly so. I'm not saying that they were wrong to say that, but if Marvel really wants to make this kind of their routine, then they're going to have to start casting characters younger, so that they've got a little bit more longevity in them,
right?
For their careers.
I mean, I heard a rumor that Chris Hemsworth re-upped a contract.
Oh, sorry, Panic Roll. Yes, you do hear water running. That is our cat fountain. If it's particularly loud, let me know, and we will make sure we unplug it for future streams. I don't know about watching any other comic shows. Inhumans burned me. Oh, Inhumans.
Never watched it.
Oh my god, that's right. There was an Inhumans TV show. I heard it was
It didn't
terrible.
even make it through a full season, I think.
No, I don't think so. I heard it was terrible. Which is unfortunate, because it's kind of an interesting concept, and they set it up really well they set it up pretty well in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I'm kind of surprised they dropped the ball as hard as they did. But at the same time, that was a concept that they originally had said they were going to do as a movie.
Yeah.
And then they changed their mind and decided they were going to do it as a show. So I can kind of see that having some production issues, and how are you going to tell that story over the course of multiple episodes versus 1 2-hour session?
Yeah.
All that stuff.
Yeah, I think what happened with that, if you look at the timing, I think they knew they were getting the mutants back, and they didn't need Inhumans anymore, because that was the original plan, was to kind of introduce quote-unquote mutants that way.
Yeah, through the Terrigen Mists and everything. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can see that. Young people can change so quickly, though, so unless they shoot an arc at one time. That's a good point. I mean, there are some actors who are like, hey, you're younger, you're really good looking, yada, 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 you look a certain way, and then you see them a couple years later and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily that they look bad, they just completely look different.
Yeah. But I think that young actors are easier to
Brendan Fraser, sorry.
Kind of easier to find somebody that kind of looks like them.
That's true.
It's kind of easier to get that. I mean, you know what I mean?
And I don't necessarily want to encourage Marvel Studios to do that, where they and one of the things that Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., and some of those people had is they were established actors. They had agents who represented them, so they could get a deal that was fair for the amount of work that they put into these movies and the amount of attention that they brought. And one concern I would have is that if the studio did start casting younger actors, they wouldn't have that same level of kind of pull, and that opens them up for being taken advantage of. So
yeah, I mean, I guess there's a little bit of that argument, but just, I mean, it's a money-making monster. I don't see how that holds up too much.
Well, just because they're making tons of money doesn't mean they're gonna pay people what they deserve for the work they do. So,
but I mean, I'm kind of wondering if it's gonna trend more like Downey Jr. and Evans had back deals for these movies, and I wonder if that's going to kind of start being the norm for this stuff.
Marvel's not going to allow that to happen again.
You don't think so?
No, because Marvel really made out like bandits on Chris Evans and Downey Jr.'s first sets of movies.
Yeah.
Based on those contracts, once those contracts were up, the actors knew they kind of had the studios over a barrel at that point.
Yeah.
Because the movies were so popular. You can't recast Captain America in the last 2 movies of a 10 movie or a 22 movie arc.
Yeah, nobody would have cared. They'd just been like,
what? That's garbage. Yeah. And so once those contracts ran out, they were able to be like, if you want me to come back, you have to pay me a ton of money. Yeah. And I think Robert Downey Jr., last I heard, he's made something like $75 million
off Infinity War.
Off of like the Marvel movies in general.
No, that was just Infinity War.
That was just Infinity War?
That was just Infinity War. And he has the same deal in place for this one.
Yeah.
That's why you see him dancing in every video.
Marvel's not going to let that happen again. That's too much money for their studio executives to be willing to give up. I know that's really cynical of me to say, but I just legitimately
believe maybe like kind of like here's a chunk up front and then a small percentage. I don't know. Maybe.
I like to think of the movie that the studios would do right by the actors no matter what the situation is, but I think history has proven that that's not necessarily the case.
I mean, I hope it doesn't end up happening where, 2 or 3 years down the line we start hearing like crazy stuff about Marvel, but they seem like they're pretty good. There's like a sense of community with all of them too. I mean, they get together and do those huge picks like 10 years and there's like everybody there and they all seem like they love each other, so...
Yeah, but I mean, that's cast stuff more so than like executive stuff. Right, executives can be pretty, Ellie says young people are also pretty vulnerable to the downsides of fame without the work-life balance and being settled into themselves in the face of the media. I can agree with that. Like that level of pressure on someone who hasn't already kind of been exposed to the limelight could definitely get to people. I mean, look at like Macaulay Culkin.
He's fine. I'm just kidding.
So yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Inhumans was so bad I watched the whole thing hoping it would get better. Oh, I hate that. When you're like, oh, I wanted this to be good and it's really cringy, but maybe if I stick with it, it'll get better. And then you get to the end of the season, the end of the show, and you're like, why did I waste so much time watching this garbage?
How many episodes was it? I'm curious.
I think it was only like 4 or 5. I don't even think it got halfway through a season. Oh, excuse me a moment. Hold on. I'm going to turn off my camera for a second.
Oh, you didn't like Lost in Space, the reboot? I actually liked that. The girl who played the daughter, like she's also in that movie Escape Room. Like, I thought she was a pretty amazing actress. Kind of a sucker for Lost in Space, though. I don't know why. It's been growing up, I guess.
I've blocked it out. I don't recall how many episodes. Wow, that's pretty seriously bad.
Yeah.
I think I tried watching... Sarah and I tried watching the Lost in Space thing on Prime? Netflix?
It's Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
Woo, getting 20 to 30 minutes into that was painful.
Yeah.
Like, we just couldn't do it.
I felt like it picked up. I liked it. I kind of liked what they did with, like, the robot. Like, the twist on it was kind of cool, but I could see how people would not like it.
Cheeky Ellie says the kids were like, hold my beer every episode to see who could fuck up the most. Yeah, I can see that.
Adventure. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it, though.
I think my thing with the Lost in Space reboot is, like, we've had Lost in Space, like, 4 times. The original Lost in Space, the movie with...
Gary Oldman. But I know.
Oh, yeah, Gary Oldman and the guy who played Joey from Friends.
Right.
This Netflix one and Star Trek Voyager. So we've had Lost in Space 4 times. We don't need it again.
Yeah, we definitely don't need a reboot.
Oh, wait, 5 times if you count Stargate Universe.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. It's Lost in Space, but with Stargates.
Yeah, that's true.
Parker Posey was fun. Parker Posey. Why does that name sound so familiar?
I don't... Was she the other sister from Netflix?
I don't know. Maybe. Anyways.
Oh, no, she's the... She played, like, the vampire in Blade 3, the girlfriend.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, she was the Dr. Smith in the Netflix Lost in Space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember the character,
That's
so...
Right.
She was in Blade Trinity. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah. Anyways, that was our kind of discussion of Endgame. We could probably talk more about it. I need to see it again. I never got around to seeing it again this last week. But it's such a good movie.
So what are your guesses on where they go from here?
Well, I mean, they've already announced the Eternals movie, and they announced another movie, the Black Widow movie. I feel like there was one more. No, let's talk about the Eternals movie, by the way. Okay. So there's a Korean guy whose name I don't remember. I think we talked about him briefly last week. Apparently, Angelina Jolie is actually cast as the lead in this movie, and I could not be more ambivalent to this. I don't care about Angelina Jolie. I don't think she's a particularly good actress. I don't know why there is such an emphasis on this being a good thing.
I'm trying to remember who would she play, like the Cersei character? Or?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't really like that casting either.
Yeah, like she's too big name an actress. Yeah. I feel like to get her as a lead. I think we kind of talked about this last week, where like big name actors and actresses in Marvel movies have been cast as support roles, but never as like the main character. Right. So I'm really disappointed in that whole thing. Cheeky Ellie asks about Game of Thrones reactions. You're a bigger Game of Thrones fan, so you go first.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Spoiler alerts for Game of Thrones this last episode as well.
I super sad how they ended it off because she was a pretty cool character. But I don't know. There was like a lot of. I felt like they did a lot of like house cleaning in this episode. Yeah. For characters, and I didn't hate any of it. I thought it was great. I already know what you're gonna say, and I agree with you totally. But I've been thinking about it, and she's never had him before. She's never had to actually have a battle before. So maybe her incompetence with them is kind of justified. I'm trying to convince myself.
No.
Yeah, I'm trying to convince myself.
Because she actually has had a battle when she was fighting when the dragons were attacking the armies where Bronn and Jaime were involved, and Bronn shot the dragon with the ballista.
Right.
So she knows they're vulnerable to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Second off, it doesn't even make sense. If the ships could have aimed at the dragon enough to hit it with 3 freaking ballista bolts, the dragons would have been able to see the ships.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
And so they would have gone, oh wait, there's a bunch of dudes down there who want to kill us. Maybe we shouldn't just be flying around with dramatic music playing in the background. Yeah. Like, the people who write this show clearly have no concept of how to write dragons in a way that makes sense, but still manages to be dramatic. They're looking at the situation going, well, crap, we've got dragons now, and how do we make this, like, a dramatic battle without the dragons just being a decisive factor that, like, steamrolls over? Like, oh my god, figure out a way that makes some kind of logical sense while still making the characters competent. Because as it is, she basically just paraded her dragon around going, yeah, you should shoot this guy because he's wounded and he's slower than the other one. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Daenerys really should have dodged. They're not easy to move and re-aim. Yeah, that's the other thing is like... And once they fired their volley, they reloaded like that, and that's not the way those things work.
Yeah, I don't understand why she didn't circle around and at least torch a boat. Like, one boat at least.
Exactly, like, and then they turn around and they're able to, like, ambush the other ships to the point where they decimate the fleet. Bullshit! I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I know I said this was going to be a family-friendly stream. It's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. And then, I swear to God, like 90% of this show is the result of people being able to kill the person that's causing all the problems, but choosing not to for nebulous narrative reasons. Why did is it Melisandre? Melisandre? No, that's the fire.
Oh, that's
witch.
The red woman, right?
Yeah.
It's similar to that.
Yeah, it's similar to Melisandre. Why the hell did she not, like, as soon as Cersei was like, do you have any last words? Why didn't she go, yeah, fuck you, grab her and jump off the goddamn wall? She knew she was going to die anyways. Sorry, this devolved really quickly. We should probably move on. I have very strong feelings about this.
I don't know.
Missandei, thank you.
Yeah, there you go, Missandei. I loved it, though. I thought it was a good episode. Aside from the obviously glaring battle issues, but like the plot points between like Arya and Gendry and like Jaime and Brienne, like
that was sad.
Yeah, there was a lot of, and like one thing that was really cool, I really liked Bran a lot this season when Jon was deciding if he's gonna tell him. He's like, it's your call, it's like up to you.
Yeah,
like I don't know, there was just like a lot of really good moments in it.
I can agree with that. Bran's kind of weird because he's very much like, yeah, dude, it's all good. It's all good in the hood, man. I'm just gonna hang out back here. Like, he seems like he's stoned most of the time.
Right.
But Yeah, the thing with Jamie and Brienne, that was the part that I was most interested in. Just because it's such an interesting evolution of those characters. I think it's a little bit fan service on HBO's part.
Sure.
I don't know that George R.R. Martin would ever write that particular relationship that way.
Supposedly he's given blessing on everything, so I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm just saying. Like, that doesn't strike me as a particularly George R.R. Martin thing to do.
Right.
Honestly, having both of them survive the battle was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah. Yeah, way too many people.
Having them get together was awesome because I thought that they made a really interesting couple from several seasons ago, the few clips that I was watching. But so when Jamie leaves, a couple people that I talked to were like, "Oh yeah, he's going back to be with Cersei." I'm like, "How did you get that interpretation out of that exchange?"
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't say, "Oh, she's a hateful person, but I love her anyways." Yeah. He said, "I'm hateful too." He's gonna go kill a bitch.
Yeah.
Like,
and the impression I got was he's going to go kill her, but he's probably not coming back, and that's why she was heartbroken.
Yeah, and she knows that he's not going to come back from that.
Right.
And she can't leave because she's already given her oath to protect Sansa. So, like,
and she's a knight now. It means something more.
Yeah. I mean, I don't honestly know that her being knighted makes it mean anymore.
Right.
I think that was important to her to begin with.
Sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There was a lot of good moments. I really love the Arya Hounder roadshow. It's back on. Like,
yes,
that's great.
Yeah. You're not gonna leave me to die if I get hurt again, are you? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's great.
So, I like the Hound. The Hound is an interesting character because, like, you kind of get the damaged white guy who's deeper than he looks, and you know that should be able to forgive all of the things he's done that are terrible things. And it's like, no, not really. He doesn't really ask to be forgiven for the terrible things he's done. He knows they're terrible, and he kind of wants to move on from them. But he doesn't expect anybody to, like, give him, a carte blanche. Hey, it's fine now. And I actually like what they've done with his character from the first season through this final one.
Yeah, there was. It's like season 5 or 6. It was right after she abandoned him for dead. I don't know if you saw it or not, but he kind of like found this village, and there was just like random people.
Yeah, and he started living there and kind of just settling in.
And they were like, "You're a great guy," and he was like, "No, I'm not a good guy." Like,
he's like, "I appreciate the fact that you think that, but no."
And he's been very true to character the whole time.
That was actually that was an interesting twist there. And again, I wasn't watching the previous seasons, but I was kind of like following up on stuff like that, like through Wikipedia and clips and things like that. And I actually found out about him going after the Brotherhood members who killed that village off, who slaughtered the village. I saw that scene after the fact and then realized why it was important to him.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of an interesting, an interesting evolution to that particular character. Is that he was like, this place seems quiet and peaceful. I can settle down here.
Yeah.
He's like, God damn it, the fucking war found me anyways, and now I got to go kill some guys. Yeah. So, sorry, didn't mean to drop an F-bomb there. I should really take the family-friendly tag off at this point. Game of Thrones ruined me for that.
Yeah, I don't know that he's ever actually been a villain. I mean, I know he was serving some pretty shitty kings and queens or whatever, but
he didn't walk away from that, like, when things got really bad.
I mean, the moment that him and Sansa had, where she was like, I fed him to the hounds or whatever, the hounds got him or whatever, like, he was kind of really crucial in her staying alive. When
I know he saved her.
Joffrey went down.
Yeah, like he saved her when the riot happened, or like people threw like crap on Joffrey, and then like the riot happened, and he goes in and he saves Sansa at one point, and then I know that kind of that interactions with them continued.
Yeah, I mean he like so there was a part right after season 1 after Joffrey beheaded Ned, and he's got his head up on a pike and he brings Sansa to see it. Mm-hmm. They're like up on this like rafter thing, and for a second there, she's like throwing this guy off the wall, and she moves to do it, and the Hound stops her. But he doesn't stop her in like I'm gonna slap you kind of way or anything. He just kind of steps in the way and stops her. And then at one point she tries jumping off, and he stops her from doing that too. Mm. And so like he's a knight, but he's just got shitty employers. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think he's very different from his brother. Like he actually has a sense of honor, whereas his brother doesn't. Yeah, he likes. Panic Roll, I'm back. Had a pup emergency. Oh, I hope Leia's okay. Hi, Leia. You're such a good puppy. I think the episode dropped the ball on a lot of levels. I think Jaime left to kill his sister. This was a goodbye to the life he could have had. I agree with that. Don't like the bit with Sansa talking about how she needed to be abused to become the woman she is. That was wrong. I agree with that. I felt that was kind of a weird thing to... Like, I get what she's saying, that to become the woman she is, she had to go through, like... The stuff that she went through made her the woman that she is.
Right.
Not necessarily that she had to go through those specific things in order to become a strong, competent woman, but the person that she is now is formed by those experiences. But it still felt kind of like saying, like, well, it's okay that I got,
right,
assaulted because now I'm here and I'm, blah, blah, blah. And the way that she said it was just a little bit...
Yeah, it was worded weird.
Yeah, it was tone deaf and... kind of icky.
Yeah, I think it was meant to be empowering, but it still sounded not that.
The tone they set was really wrong. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think Samson said it really well. Like, it meant to be empowering, and they just fumbled the ball on that particular line. So
that and the set people screwed up with the Starbucks
the
cup.
Starbucks cup. Yes. Yeah. They didn't run it by a woman. Yeah, I could see that. Like, I could see a woman looking at that and being like, wait, what the hell? And kind of helping them, like, realize that they needed to rewrite it. Yeah. But, the Starbucks cup was kind of funny. I was cruising social media and was like, and I saw something about it. I was like, that does look like a Starbucks cup. Yeah. I think it's confirmed that it is. Like, they've zoomed in on it. It's a coffee cup.
Yeah, HBO was like, our bad.
The Winterfell branch of Starbucks.
It's too funny. I think somebody was saying that there was something in the Battle of Winterfell as well. There was like a car or something, or
Starkbucks.
There you go.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's a branding opportunity right there.
Little wolf on it.
Yeah, instead of the mermaid. Daenerys, first of her name, the mother of coffee. The drinker of coffee at the very least. Yeah, man. Like... I see the appeal of Game of Thrones. Yeah. And I'm not saying... I am kind of saying... I think it's kind of a bad show, just wrapped up really pretty. There are lots of good things about it, but there are so many things about it, like watching it in retrospect and kind of digging into it, and I'm just like, why did they make that decision?
I think most of the decisions that they're making for this final season are kind of forced because it's the final season.
Yeah.
And I think those are some of the mistakes, because I don't really feel like the weird like battle decisions and stuff existed before the season. I feel like it's exclusively this season.
I don't know, man. Like, there's been a Battle of the Bastards. I'm like, whose battle plan was this? Well, like, who came up with this, Jon Snow?
That made sense, because he was somebody that hadn't been in battle. He wasn't tried and true. He didn't know what he was doing, and he made
advisors who would.
But he made a point to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and people were like, "You're fine. You're the king of the north. They got you." Like they kind of didn't let him step back and have advice, and they kind of addressed it in that. But this stuff with Daenerys is just, I mean, I kind of want to just reach in there and scream at her. She doesn't deserve those dragons.
She doesn't deserve those dragons, man.
She does not.
Oh, and let's be 100% clear. What she's riding are not dragons. They are drakes at best.
Yeah. Yes.
True dragons have 4 legs, 2 wings, tails, long neck, breathe fire. Usually they're sentient. They can talk. They can cast spells, things like that. Drakes are downgraded versions of dragons. You've also got wyverns, 2 legs, wings, tail with a poison stinger at the end, but these don't have poison stingers at the end, and wyverns don't breathe fire like these do, so they're drakes. Sorry, I'm done.
Nice.
I feel very strongly about this.
I do too. I actually hate any depiction of a quote-unquote dragon when it doesn't have 4 appendages. I'll come out. I can't.
Oh, and Panic Roll brings up a great point. Dragons have blind sight, according to the D&D rules, which means a snowstorm would not make them run into each other. They would have known where they were based on that.
Yeah. Well, they would have just known anyways. Like,
that's true. Ellie says Euron should be questioning his assumption that he's the father of Cersei's baby when she's only just told him, but her brother Tyrion knows. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. Although
I kind of felt like he knew. When she told him, he was kind of like, what? All right, whatever. I'm gonna be king. Like,
like if you're gonna claim me as the father, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Euron's he's a crazy dude. I can't wait to see him die.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters in that show that you can't wait to see go away. And I'm so curious how they're gonna kill Cersei off.
I'm really curious to see what's gonna happen between Tyrion and Varys.
Yeah.
I could totally see Tyrion killing Varys in order to protect Dany.
I really like Varys.
I do too. From the very beginning, he's always been like, I'm here for the realm.
Yeah.
You're a cool dude, but I'll kill you dead if it means protecting the realm.
Yeah.
And I really respect that level of consistency in that character, because he knows that kings come and go. I mean, it's happened like 4 times in the last generation or 2.
Yeah.
So kings are nothing to really get behind. Making sure that the kingdoms themselves are still around.
Yeah.
And that the realm is still intact. That's he looks at the really long-term picture, and I like that about him.
Yeah, I loved the part last night where he was like, I don't know any of them people's names, but they deserve to live just the same as me and you. Mm-hmm. Like, that whole rant that he went on was beautiful. Because you don't really see that in huge battle.
So what is Varys' background? I know he's a eunuch.
Right. So he's, he was the spy master for...
I knew that too. For
Robert Baratheon. Yeah. So there was one thing that the only time they ever really got into anything backstory for him was, I can't remember who it was, but somebody caught the guy that made him a eunuch and brought him to him. And it didn't show what he did to the guy.
Right.
But you could hear it. And it was bad. It was really bad. So that was the only time you ever seen him not be, like, cool-headed.
Gotcha.
And that's the only backstory they really got into him. But it was a great moment for him. And it was right before... I think it was right before Joffrey got killed, when he fled.
Oh, okay.
So he was still in the Red Keep, so...
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Interesting. Ellie says, a lot of houses have been destroyed, so Westeros is in for a lot of struggle. Yeah, that's another point. Like, in this last episode, Daenerys just names Gendry to Storm's End. Is that right? Which is cool for Gendry and all, but that does highlight the point that Ellie's making, is that a lot of these, like, manors and keeps and whatever are going to be empty because the families that were in them are dead.
But I mean, again, Braun brought up an interesting point. This is how you get houses. Then your grad kids end up screwing it up.
Yeah.
Like, I kill a bunch of people, I get a house. Like,
true.
So I mean, this is kind of how it works.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily, that doesn't make for good stability.
It's horrible.
Why was Gendry a rivers? He's Gendry waters. I don't know. I'm not familiar with. I know, like, legitimized bastards, like bastards that have been acknowledged by their parents, take a last name that is somehow relevant to, like, the region that they're in. So, like, Jon was Jon Snow because that's relevant to the North, and kind of implies, you're recognized as the bastard son of a lord here in the North.
Right.
I don't know what it would be for the area that Gendry's from. I mean, technically, Robert Baratheon, that was from Storm's End. I don't know where that is in the world.
But he was
Gendry Waters from the Stormlands. Okay, yeah.
He was born, I believe, in
King's Landing. Yeah, because he was the result of one of his trysts.
Yeah. So, maybe it was just a tactic to keep him hidden. I don't know. Yeah.
Although, so I was actually I was looking into this the other day. I was doing a little bit of, like, wiki digging, and I realized that so Robert Baratheon only became the king because his, like, father or grandfather or whatever served Aegon the Conqueror, the Targaryen guy that came over to Westeros and used his dragons to kind of, conquer the Seven Kingdoms.
He made the Iron Throne.
Yeah, he made the Iron Throne and all that stuff. So Robert Baratheon's ancestor, however many greats prior to that it was, served this Aegon the Conqueror guy really well. Otherwise, he wasn't, like, a lord in and of himself. I think he was, like, an unlanded knight or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he was named the Lord of Storm's End for his service in the war. So it's interesting that the Targaryens elevated Robert, like, the Baratheon family to their position. Then they, like, decided to go to war against the Targaryens because Robert was kind of upset about the whole, like, thing with Lyanna Stark, and they went and overthrew them. And then, of course, the Baratheon dynasty ended almost immediately.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just interesting interactions there between houses and characters.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That is interesting. I mean, he basically made the guy, and the guy killed him, pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's like, hey, you're cool. You're one of my knights. You're one of my vassals now. They're like, yeah, cool. By the way, my grandson's going to kill your grandson because he doesn't like you guys.
Because of stuff.
Yeah, because of things. So yeah, I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting. Lots of history behind Game of Thrones, and I don't claim to know all of it, but...
So from what I understand, that according to George R. R. Martin, there are actually 3 spin-offs that are in the works.
I saw that.
And all 3 of them are going well. I don't think they're going to make 3 shows, because production costs can't... There's no way they're supporting that for HBO. Maybe, but...
I mean, maybe some of them are going to be, like, filming during the off-seasons of the other shows or something.
That'd be cool.
So, because I remember that there were 2 spin-offs that I'd heard about. One of them is, like, a prequel set back in the Age of Heroes, so quite a while ago, back during the time of, like, Brandon the Builder and all those guys.
Like 500 years ago or
yeah,
something.
like back when the wall was built, like kind of the Age of Heroes time frame. And so he so yeah, that show was going to go forward. There was another spin-off that had been announced, and they were talking about like what that was going to look like, and that got canceled before it ever was announced, like the concept was ever announced. So that's what I had heard right up until earlier today when I saw George R. R. Martin basically confirm, 3 spin-offs, and they're all going great. I was like, what?
Yeah.
How?
What time? What are you? Yeah.
Yeah. What are you smoking, Martin?
I hope that they don't. Again, like I think you mentioned this before, like they don't mess or undo anything that they're doing now, because that's just it's just cheap.
Yep.
So,
and I mean, another thing to consider is that if they're going to do spin-offs that are going to branch out from this current timeline and take place kind of in the modern time,
right?
I mean, it's entirely possible that they have to get rid of the dragons by the end of this series, so that in that series they don't have dragons to be like, well, but why didn't they just bring the dragon over and deal with it?
Maybe.
So,
yeah, it kind of does feel like the writers were like, dragons. Oh shit, we got dragons.
Yeah, oh, how do we write ourselves out of this one?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the old school like time travel dilemma. Once you introduce time travel into a universe, why is time travel not the solution to practically everything? So, his ancestor was a Durandon. I think he married Lady Argella Baratheon. Probably. Sounds about right. We'll just go ahead and put a stamp on it and say that's canon now.
Yep, official.
Because there's so much to keep track of. But yeah, I don't know. Game of Thrones... I enjoy watching the show, even though I've got very strong opinions about it.
So, I think part of the appeal for Game of Thrones was when it started out, it was the only show that like would completely just, you're gonna love this guy, and then he's dead.
Yeah. No
warning, no nothing. And I think the constant like shock factor, like a lot of people are just kind of on that ride, and I think. Maybe because you kind of skipped some of that, you're not so endeared to it. Yeah. So I don't know. I really do think it's a lot of looking at the car wreck type of thing for people that watch the show.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I love watching. Even now, I still love watching reaction videos for the Red Wedding.
Oh yeah.
Because there's some pretty funny reactions to that.
It was crazy though. Like I remember seeing that for the first time, and I'm pretty sure I reacted the same way.
Right.
I jumped up and was like, "Holy shit! This is like."
Well, the funny thing is, in the books, it doesn't go into detail. Like you literally find out about it after the fact, and someone mentions like, "Oh yeah, by the way, all these people got murdered at the wedding." And I remember reading the books. I was like, "What?" And I flipped back. Like I literally just turned to the page, and I still flipped back several pages, trying to go, "Did I miss something somewhere?"
Some stuff together.
Did I skip some pages? Because it was so kind of jarring and just out of left field. So, I think people are over the shock factor, though, and they're looking for character development, plot wrap-up. I can agree with that. I think that's why we're getting this season the way we are, is because it is kind of wrapping a lot of that stuff up. I'm surprised that they're leaving the final confrontation with Cersei until the last 2 episodes of the last season. I really expected that to kind of take the bulk of this last season up. But then that would have meant they would have had to resolve the whole thing with the Night King last season, and, you know, I don't know. It's a whole thing.
Which kind of makes me wonder... And I'm kind of hoping that they don't resolve anything, because that would be the ultimate kind of
that would be
thing they could do.
That would be too much of a fuck you to the audience. Excuse me, sorry about the F-bomb there.
But they've been doing that since the series started,
right?
With the characters and stuff. So it would make sense to me that they finish that way too.
Yeah.
As long as they don't kill off my girl Arya, I'm good.
Yeah. I don't know. All right, so we're an hour and 45 minutes in. We thought this might happen, that we wouldn't get around to the Rights Comics piece. People would riot if they didn't tie things up. Yeah, and you do not want a bunch of Game of Thrones fans rioting, because their idea of a riot is probably a lot more hardcore than a normal riot. Plus, they would probably all invest in plate armor and two-handed swords before it happened.
This might be kind of cool.
But we probably won't get into the Ravensdale Rights Comics piece tonight, sadly, just because we were geeking out, and that took precedence. But that's okay. It kind of gives a little bit of an extra break on catching up, for Samson to catch up with the script. However, one thing we wanted to talk about before we sign off for tonight is a special event stream. We're doing a fundraiser stream on March 23rd, starting at 6 p.m. and going until midnight. And we are doing this for schizophrenia awareness. So basically, March 24th is, or excuse me, I keep saying March, May 24th is World Schizophrenia Day. And we have a good friend that was recently diagnosed with schizophrenia. He asked that I play through Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, because it is apparently the best representation of schizophrenia in kind of an interactive medium. And he asked if I would be willing to live stream it. I said, you know what, if we're going to do that, why don't we go ahead and do a charity event where we try to raise some money towards schizophrenia research. So on May 23rd, from 6 to midnight, I'm going to be doing a marathon stream of Senua's Sacrifice, totally blind playthrough. I've never touched the game before. And any money that we have donated is going to go to the Brain and Behavior Research Foundation. There will be some details that we put up on our website. We'll post about it on Instagram and stuff like that. And we'll put some details in the description of our Twitch channel down below here in a little bit. But I really hope you'll consider tuning in and watching that particular stream. The reason we're doing it on Thursday, on the 23rd, is so that we can hopefully hit our goal. We're not quite sure what the fundraising goal is going to be just yet, but we're hoping to hit our goal by midnight, so that at the stroke of midnight, I can submit the donation to the Brain and Behavioral Research Foundation to kind of be like the first donation on the 24th. So that's the idea. Try to be there for that. March 23rd next year. May 23rd. Sorry, I misspoke. It's May 23rd, 2019. Really cool. Less than 3 weeks. Yeah, so it is less than 3 weeks from now. We will be doing a raffle that you'll be able to earn tickets for by following us, subscribing, donating, etc. We'll be giving away some download codes for Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. We're looking at getting some cool artwork from the game, or for the game, that we will also raffle off. And then Samson, I will have a beautiful painting done on wood. It'll be very nice. I'm not sure exactly the size yet, because 3 weeks is kind of a tough thing, but it's going to be like a photorealistic painting. It's going to be beautiful. Awesome.
More than happy to help out. So
yeah, that's great. So for that particular painting, you may not get it right away. It may be something that happens after the fact, by a couple of weeks, just to make sure he's got time to finish it up and let it dry and whatever it needs to do. But those are some of the things we're looking at kind of raffling off. Again, more details to come, but please mark your calendars for that. I think it's a really important topic. I think there's a lot of social stigma around any mental illness, but schizophrenia in general, or in particular, gets a lot of really negative representation in pop culture. Yeah. And I just think that's really unfortunate, because that, perpetuating those negative stereotypes in pop culture means that the general population, when they look at things like that, they tend to, kind of demonize it. They're less likely to support awareness campaigns, research, fundraising, things like that. So I really want to bring some attention to it. One of the other things we're doing as part of the stream is actually our friend said that he might be interested in doing an Ask Me Anything session during the stream. So if you wanted to come watch me play through a game, that will probably kill me a whole lot. That's always fun. But you also will be able to ask him questions about his experience with schizophrenia, the medications that he's tried, the treatment methods he's come into contact with, what his symptoms look like and how it manifests. So if you really want to ask some questions and get them answered by someone suffering from this particular condition, then tune in on the 23rd and you can ask your questions then. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add there.
No, just looking forward to it.
Okay. So yeah, thanks very much for tuning in tonight. I do hope that you'll tune in with us from now until the end of time. But at the very least, please mark May 23rd on your calendar as the next time to tune in with us. Otherwise, I think that's it for tonight. I could talk about Endgame more, but I mean, honestly, I need to see it again before I've kind of topped up again. So, maybe next week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, thanks very much for tuning in. We will see you Wednesday. I'm going to be doing another session of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, so that'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to be doing an extra Sekiro stream this week. I'm going to be doing a stream on Wednesday, my normal Wednesday video game stream for Sekiro. So that should be pretty good. I've got a couple bosses I need to circle back around to. I've got one boss I need to circle back around to and see if I can kill him. I don't know how well that's going to go, but tune in on Wednesday to find out. So, yeah. Cool. Catch y'all later.
See you guys.
Have a good night, and we will see you next time.